The Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 Ultra is a unique device. It's larger than a mainstream 14-inch notebook, while also being thin, almost light, and very expensive. Given its unique position in the market, it is a perfect example of a device that likely won't make it into most people's homes. Enter the S9. The Tab S9 is the runt of the litter, being smaller, lighter, and generally more normal than the Ultra and even the Plus. But it retains much of the hardware specifications, notably the processor, GPU, form factor, and camera. It's priced at $800 US, and we think it makes the most compelling argument for not buying an iPad Pro that we've seen yet. Maybe. The first thing that you notice about when you power on the S9 is the screen. The 11-inch 16 by 10 1600 by 2560 AMOLED display makes its presence known, with bright colors and excellent contrast. Max brightness is 420 nits, while peak brightness is 750. Depending on the content you watch, this will be immediately noticeable, and I frequently find myself using this device to watch videos, especially ones where contrast-rich scenes dominate. It is a joy to view, and even just scrolling through Android really makes an impression. Samsung always makes great screens, and the 14.5-inch display on the S9 Ultra is a great example. Despite its smaller size, we think much of that charm comes through in its smallest sibling, the S9. The S9's display has a 120Hz refresh rate, which proves pleasant to use when scrolling through apps or the home screen on Android. Generally, though, the S9 can't sustain anything approaching 120 Hz in demanding games, although some later games will support it. Generally, no matter what you want to do, you can expect the S9 to provide an excellent visual experience. Specs-wise, the S9 ships in two configurations. Both have the Snapdragon 8th Gen 2 Adreno 740 GPU and 8 or 12 gigs of memory. 128 gigs of storage is standard and 256 is optional. RAM is soldered on, so you must upgrade your storage to get more RAM. These specs are high-end and represent the best available today in an Android tablet. The M2 available in the iPad Pro is more powerful, but I wouldn't worry about the specs of your tablet, especially since the Snapdragon processor is going to be choked by the S9's thin build, which we expect since the S8 series before it was also not a top gaming or performance device at the top end. Again, we think there isn't much benefit to arguing specs on a device like this. The M2 iPad Pro is faster, but it is also an entirely different ecosystem and environment. So if you aren't in need of the extra power or don't care for iPad OS, you'll be fine. The stereo speakers are great, sounding full and pleasant for long periods of time. We don't think these AKG-tuned speakers are as good as the iPad Pro, but they are a top contender for all tablets available in 2023, and most people will find them sufficient for gaming, film and TV watching, and music listening. If you're a music producer and want a more natural experience, the iPad Pro and Air offer a better listening experience and sound at better volume, but again, I wouldn't really worry too much. You'll have a good experience here. Battery life is impressive, gaining 400 milliamp hours over its 2022 cousin, but losing in the screen-on time department. We found that Samsung's claims of 15 hours of screen-on is way too generous. If you tried, you may be able to reach this reading a book at minimum brightness, but we found other reviews to be dead on with about 9 hours average of battery life, even with the display locked at 60 Hz. This makes sense in retrospect, since the GPU likely isn't asking the display to display more than 60 Hz most of the time in the interest of not draining battery. The S8 lasted longer, which was one of its defining features. This loss of battery life is most assuredly associated with the AMOLED display and the benefits of the added color, brightness, and peak contrast. We think that Samsung charging $100 more than last year is almost acceptable, but if Samsung wants to charge us a premium device, including a charger in the box would be cool. Even Apple includes a charger with their iPads, and Samsung should too. Using the S9 has been pleasant, and I much prefer this reasonably sized device to the massive Ultra, but given the option to only have one such device, I think the choice would be harder to make for me. If you're already entrenched in the Android ecosystem, the S9 makes plenty of sense. It has a mature app store, access to plenty of customization options via software if you don't like how it comes from the factory, which I don't. I dislike all of Samsung's bloatware, including the uninstallable ones that require some extra knowledge to remove. Nova Launcher is a classic, but there are others available for those who aren't satisfied with the stock option. If you're buying the S9 for creative purposes such as drawing, we think the S Pen does a great job as always, although you should plan to buy extra tips for it if you plan to draw a lot. If you're a photo editor or graphic designer, Photoshop and other notable Adobe apps are available on iPadOS and not Android, so that is something that's worth considering. One of our preferred drawing apps, Clip Studio, is available on both iPad and Android, but Procreate, our preferred sketching program, is iPad only. We think that for the niche group of people who need those, accept no substitute to the iPad. However, if you're looking to play games, especially casual ones, the S9 series represent a great choice. We think that the S9 series' best selling point is the beautiful AMOLED display, which lends itself very well to content consumption. So if you watch a lot of TV, movies, YouTube, other internet videos, or similar content, we think the S9 series represents a great premium option for doing that. Wireless DeX is a great feature, and some will use it, but generally we suggest using a device more suited to desktop use for larger display applications. As usual, we do not suggest you buy the $200 S9 book cover keyboard, as we think this device is best as a tablet. A cheap case stand combo will likely serve the same purpose, unless you must buy an accessory that may not be supported if you upgrade your tablet in the coming generations. A Bluetooth mouse and keyboard combo will likely work fine as well. Alternatively, cheaper options from Logitech are also available. If you demand a device for art, top-end gaming, and video work, the M2 iPad Pro lineup is the more powerful device. However, if you want a casual device with a seriously immersive screen, the S9 series wows with an AMOLED display that has a place with the best in the industry right now. Thanks for watching, and subscribe to Creators Table to stay up to date in the latest ways to play gambling simulators.